This is a brief presentation on how I use ClassCraft in my classroom. My name is Andrew Sindell, and I am a high school math teacher, and I've been teaching for 2 years. So currently I teach Algebra 1, Geometry, Algebra 2, Pre-Calculus, AP Calculus AB, and currently I'm teaching robotics, but I've taught other classes like PE. I have been using ClassCraft for over a month now, and I use it in 3 of my 6 classes. I'm making this presentation for a few reasons. So firstly, if you want to know more about ClassCraft, this video is for you. It's also for you if you want to know how other teachers like myself use ClassCraft in a math class in this case, and if you just want to know how ClassCraft generally works. So here's a quick little outline of what I want to say in this video. First of all, I want to make sure that everyone is familiar with what ClassCraft is, and then I want to show how I use it in my classroom and some tips about how to use it that are based on research. And finally, we'll end with what research has to say for and against ClassCraft. Let's start with a brief overview of what ClassCraft is. So it is a token economy. Students are rewarded or punished through a game with virtual incentives and deterrence. So this does not affect their grade, but it is a scaffold to get a good grade through desired behaviors. And that's kind of the idea behind ClassCraft. Everything can be gamified to get these behaviors that you want. And this can apply to lessons, quizzes, and tests. But both of those, or all of those ones with asterisk, means that you have to have the paid version, and I don't have that. So for now, it's just a behavior tool, a classroom management tool. ClassCraft does have the carrot and stick approach to their token economy. There are good behaviors that you want to encourage and bad behaviors that you want to discourage. So let's talk about the good behavior that you want to encourage with incentives. So general incentives, these could be using a note card on a test, turning a quiz into a group quiz, or listening to music. It's whatever the teacher decides to give to the students. On the teacher's end, they give the student's character XP for some good behavior, and on the student's end, they can level up if they get enough XP, and if they can level up, that will unlock more powers, and then they can use those powers. And that's a general overview. We'll get into the nitty-gritty in a little bit. And for the deterrence, we have the ability to take away health from the student character if there's ever bad behavior, and that will eventually cause a student to die in the game, and they will receive some punishment. And that punishment could be cleaning around the trash can, losing your lunch, where you have to come to your room or stay after school, or writing an essay explaining why you had your bad behavior. Generally, the only time that I'll use ClassCraft in a classroom is when I'm struggling with classroom management, or when I need some extra incentive, like to get them to do their homework or to participate more in class. So for the classes that I am implementing ClassCraft, these are the reasons that I'm using it. In Algebra 1, it's because of the behavior of the freshman boys and homework completion in general. In Geometry, it's participation in class, and in Algebra 2, it's a general bad student atmosphere and also homework completion, just like Algebra 1. So when you log into ClassCraft, you'll see this menu and you can select your class. Let's pretend to use our geometry class, and I'm going to use a demo class for this example. So let's pretend it's a normal bell schedule, geometry second period. So that means that class starts at 9:13. I'll have some warm-up up on the board. So let's go. Okay, so the warm-up is up on the board, and if they are not in their seats by 9:13, I go ahead and take off health. It's just a good way to get them to be there on time. So let's say I have this open, and oh no, let's say, Zofia, sorry, you were late. So I say minus 10 HP for being late to class. And then they can, it looks like the team can respond. So let's say Gabriel is going to use Protect 1, and he's going to lose 8 HP. Okay, so he's really low, but he saves Sophia, so that's great. So the teacher is the one that actually intervenes. You ask the student if they want to intervene, and they can say yes or no. Usually they do because they get XP for it. All right, perfect. So they're working on the warm-up now. So this is what's currently up on the board. They know what happened, and then I say pull out your homework, and I go around and check their homework while they're working on the warm-up. And as I go around and do the homework, it turns out that, let's say, Gabriel, he did not do his homework. So I'm going to go ahead and say, okay, well, sorry, you have your homework. It wasn't turned in time. So he's about to die. So what's going to happen is his team can interfere and make it so he doesn't die. If he does die, every single member on the team does lose 10 HP. So they have a good incentive to not let him die. Let's say Jules going to use Revive, so use Power. Cool. So Gabriel didn't die. He went down to 1 HP. Perfect. So they finished their warm-up, and now I'll ask, okay, who wants to share the answer to these warm-up problems? And I can either let them write on the board with a marker with the Mimeo board, or do whatever they want to answer the question. Even audibly is fine. So let's say I call on 2 different students with quiet raised hands, and let's say Gail decides to answer and she gets it right, so correctly answering a question. Let's say I also chose Jewel, and Jewel didn't get it right, but she did a good attempt. So she attempted to answer, let's say, Livia corrected the answer, so she caught a peer error, and eventually she did get it correct as well. So she correctly answered the question. So that's how that warm-up would work. So after the warm-up, you move on to your lesson. So your lesson would say, okay, we're on lesson 9-4. You show them where we are in the unit guide, and lesson 9-4, and then you have some stuff up there, so they copy that down while you have some time to take attendance or do whatever you need to do. And then you start asking them questions. Okay, can anyone tell me with a quiet raised hand, what is the basic formula for finding the area of volume? Oh, it looks like I'm going to call on, I look who's low on XP. I'm going to call on Elena. So let's see what she's going to get. So Elena says, oh, it's just volume is equal to base times height, or base area times height. And I'd say, oh, very good. And then I'll write that in the notes. Volume is equal to the base area. This is an area. You can say that in the notes too. Base area times height. In general, that is the formula for volume. And I say, okay, good job. You got the answer correct. And I keep moving on. Good incentive to answer questions. And then you just continue on through that, your normal lesson, until the very end of your lesson. Make them do a summary at the very end, and they start working on homework. And let's say they're working on their homework, and it looks like Natasha's doing a really good job of helping Antwari, or whoever else is in this class. So where is this? Helping another student with their work. I just say, oh, wow, good job on helping them with their work. I give them XP like that. And then let's say everyone happened to be positive and hardworking in this entire class, so I can actually go to the class list and say, okay, good job. Everyone was positive and hardworking. Make sure that all of these are selected. If there's someone absent, you can make sure that they don't accidentally get checked. And I'm going to say, yeah, everyone was positive and hardworking, plus 100 XP. Good job. And you can apply mass effects to all the class like this. I can say, oh, everyone, you just get, let's give everyone full AP for the day. Everyone goes up to full AP. Perfect. And then if they want to activate their individual powers, you can do that here in this menu. Let's say they have Protect 1 and they want to use this. Looks like there's a delayed damage queue, but usually you want them to be doing this during the warm-up. They want to be using all their powers at the warm-up for the day, and then they are not on their phones for the rest of the day. One last thing that I forgot to mention is during the homework check, let's say, who do we say? We said that Gabriel didn't do his homework, but this entire team did their homework. So I'm going to say this entire team, you get a bonus 100 XP because all students completed the homework. So it's a good incentive for all the students to do it and put the peer pressure to make sure that everyone's doing the homework. So before we get to the reasons why you do want to use ClassCraft, let's briefly mention why we would not want to use ClassCraft. So in a sense, ClassCraft is a reward economy, and if you Google any of the research for reward economies, you'll know that they do have really bad long-term effects, but they have pretty good short-term effects. In general, they can erode the innate tendency to do work outside of class. So if you normally enjoy doing math outside of the class, and then all of a sudden you have this token economy come in, this reward economy come in, that love of math is replaced by the love of trying to get XP in the game, and then once that game is gone, then you have no more love of math. And also kids will focus on trying to game the system. So how can I get the most amount of XP for doing the least amount of work instead of trying to actually self-improve themselves as mathematicians? And this is all based off the advice of an experienced psychologist. I have the link here, and I'll post a link in the description as well. And I do want to point out that ClassCraft is more accurately described as a token economy than a reward economy. While there still are tangible rewards that can be bought, like a note card for a test, there's also a carrot and stick model that has a lot of good research behind it. While the last slide was based on research, this is a slide that's based on my opinion. So I don't even like grades, and it feels like ClassCraft kind of goes a step beyond what grades are already doing. So grades already kind of shows a student's ability to work hard and learn the material. And what we're really trying to do with our students is to expand their minds, light the fires of their passions, and evolve them into more intelligent citizens. So grades already kind of reward and punish students that are not progressing like we would want. And what I'm worried about is that we might end up scaffolding these systems to the point that students forget why they're in our classrooms. And I know that some might argue that our students are too young and immature to realize what is good for them, but I know there are a few students who do know what's good for them and have great study habits and are going to be awesome citizens. And I realize that this all does sound hypocritical coming from a teacher that uses grades because I'm forced to, but I also go a step further by implementing ClassCraft in my own classroom. But I do understand the value of tricking students into learning. If I didn't do it, I would have more disruptions to students that are already learning. And that's a great transition into why I do want to use in the classroom. So I talked about how I want to get rid of disruptive behavior, but it's not just that, it also improves student engagement. And there are a few studies that also talk about how it slightly does raise your academic performance. But if you just Google token economy in Google Scholar, you will find over and over again multiple studies that say, yes, it improves student engagement and decreases disruptive behavior over and over again. Very strong results there. And also, it's pretty obvious that it does provide instant and continuous feedback to students so they know what the boundaries are in your classroom. They know what good behavior looks like. They know what bad behavior looks like. And that last point actually brings me to my general tips. I have two of them, and both of them are based on research. The first one is to immediately reward or punish behavior every single time you see it. So just as soon as something happens, like, oh, you're late, you have to tell them that that is not okay, and then show them that they're getting HP deduction. Or as soon as they help someone else in class, go ahead and say, wow, I see that you're helping someone in class, and then give them the XP right then and there. If they have too much of a wait period between when they do something bad or good and then the reward or punishment, then they're not going to connect those as strongly as if they happen immediately back to back. And the second point that I want to make is you have to do it every single time that you see it. It can't be a, oh, that's a warning. I'm going to subtract HP next time that you are rude to a classmate, or something like that. You have to do it every single time. The whole idea behind this is the actual punishments aren't that bad. I mean, emptying the trash, sure, it sounds bad to them, and it sounds bad that they're dying in the game, but it's okay. The teacher can subtract a 10 HP and feel good that they're making incremental progress towards this minor punishment. You need to show them what the boundaries are. And I'm going to leave you with a quote from my mentor teacher, which has really stuck with me, and it helped me through my classroom management for the last 2 years. So while you might have rules in your syllabus and on your classroom walls, the rules of your classroom are really dictated by what you allow your students to get away with every day. They will always try to push the boundaries. It is your job to show them where those boundaries are.